All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're digging into a pretty radical idea from a paper by Roshan Gadamian called Architectures of Ease. And it's a theory that basically flips everything we think we know about why people follow rules. The core argument? When it comes to getting people to do the right thing, good design is way more powerful than just good intentions.
You know the feeling, right? You're filling out some ridiculously complicated form, or trying to navigate a website that makes no sense, or just dealing with any process that feels like it was designed to make you want to scream. It's this universal frustration, and it gets at a really basic question. Why does doing the right thing so often feel like pulling teeth?
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The central idea of this whole theory is that our behavior, it isn't really about what's in our hearts or our moral compass. Nope. It's a direct result of the systems and the environments we're stuck in. If you can wrap your head around that one idea, everything else is going to click into place. Okay, so to really get this new idea, first we have to understand the old one. The paper calls it the compliance trap, and this is pretty much how we've been trying to get people to cooperate for, well, forever. The old school way of thinking is pretty simple. If you want people to play by the rules, you need a big stick. You need threats, you need fines, you need surveillance, you need audits. Our laws, our companies, even our apps are built on this deep-seated belief that without force, there'd just be chaos. But here's the catch. This whole enforcement-first approach has some serious hidden costs. The author calls it systemic drag, and it comes in four main flavors. First, you've got the insane administrative cost of all that policing. Second, you get what's called psychological reactance. You know, that feeling where because someone is trying to control you, you just want to do the opposite. Then it actually crowds out our own desire to do good. And finally, these systems are just super fragile. They shatter the second they're put under real pressure. And this just nails the central paradox, doesn't it? Sure, you can force people to comply, but only in the short term. Over the long haul, all you're doing is draining the system of its money, its energy, and the goodwill of the people in it. It's kind of like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes constant, exhausting effort, and the second you look away, it just explodes back to the surface. So if enforcement is a trap, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to the really cool part, the radical reframe that's at the heart of this entire theory. It gives us a totally new foundation for thinking about how we all get along. The big idea is this. Stop obsessing over individual morality and start obsessing over the architecture of the system itself. Whether people behave well or badly isn't something that just happens in a vacuum. It emerges from the environment. So if you design the system right, compliance just becomes the natural, default, easy outcome. And the paper has this awesome analogy to help us picture it, the behavioral gravity well. Just think of a landscape with hills and valleys. Water always flows downhill to the lowest point, right? It's the path of least resistance. The goal of a good system isn't to build a bunch of fences to stop the water from going the wrong way. It's to shape the land itself so the easiest, most natural downhill path leads exactly where you want it to go. Okay, so this sounds great, but how do you actually design one of these so-called behavioral gravity wells? Well, the theory breaks it down into three core tools, or levers, that you can pull to get people to cooperate without twisting their arm. Now, you're going to see some math on the screen here, but don't worry about the formulas for now. The key thing is just to get the three big concepts: friction differential, identity coupling, and future cycle access. When you put these three things together, you create a system where doing the right thing just feels easy, rewarding, and, well, natural. So let's quickly break those down. First, and this one is the most important, is friction differential. It's simple. Make the thing you want people to do the absolute easiest option. Fewer clicks, less paperwork, less thinking. Done. Second is identity coupling. This is where you connect the good behavior to how people see themselves, making them feel smart or like a good member of the community. And third, future cycle access. This is a clever one. It replaces punishment with opportunity. You don't get fined for dropping out, you just miss out on all the cool benefits that come next. I know this might all sound a bit abstract, but the truth is, this framework is already working all around us, usually hiding in plain sight. Let's look at a perfect, real-world example of where design totally crushed enforcement. Think about this for a second. For years, the music and movie industries tried to stop piracy with lawsuits, with threats, with digital locks, just pure brute force enforcement. And it was a spectacular failure. And then along came Spotify and Netflix. What did they do that was so different? They didn't hire more lawyers, they used better design. They created an experience that was just easier, faster, and better than pirating. And look at these numbers. We're talking 97, 98, even 99% compliance. That's insane. They didn't police people into paying. They designed a behavioral gravity well so deep that almost everyone just happily fell right in.
And you can see the two approaches right here, side by side. On the one hand, you have enforcement. It's all about outside pressure, penalties, it's brittle, it's expensive to run. On the other hand, you have these ease-based systems. They're driven by smart incentives and making things easy. They're resilient, they're cheap, and they actually make people want to participate.
And get this isn't just some feel-good philosophy. The paper actually shows how you can model these levers, the friction, the identity, the future benefits, mathematically. You can literally plug numbers into a function and predict compliance rates based on a system's design. This takes it from just a neat concept and turns it into a seriously powerful tool for building better institutions. But this way of thinking is so much bigger than just streaming services or app stores. The implications are absolutely massive. So let's just zoom out for a second and see where else this could take us. I mean, you could use this framework to redesign almost anything. Imagine a tax system that's so easy and seamless it feels automatic, or civic programs that people are genuinely proud to be a part of, or even financial systems that naturally guide investment toward regenerative projects, not because of a rule, but because it's just the most straightforward path. So ultimately, what this is all about is a fundamental shift in mindset for anyone who designs, well, anything. We need to stop asking, how can we force people to do the right thing? And start asking, how can we design the system so that doing the right thing becomes the most natural, obvious, and easiest thing to do?
And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? Look at the blue line. That's the ease-based system. Cooperation actually grows and compounds over time. It gets stronger. Now look at the red line. That's the enforcement system. It just slowly degrades, burning through trust and resources until it fails. One builds the future, the other is stuck in the past. So when you boil it all down, this entire theory leads us to one incredibly clear and powerful conclusion. This is it. This is the whole ballgame. For so long, we've been trying to police our way to a better world, when we should have been trying to design it. The most effective, the most resilient, and frankly, the most human systems aren't the ones with the strictest rules. They're the ones with the smartest, most thoughtful design. And so I'll leave you with a final question to chew on. Just take a look around your own life, at your job, in your community, maybe even in your own family. Where are you relying on force and enforcement, when maybe, just maybe, you could be building an architecture of ease instead?